During the COVID-19 pandemic, we have continued to hear stories about people in the hospital, unable to see their families. Because of the risk of infection, visitors are not allowed to enter hospitals to visit loved ones. People who are dying cannot say goodbye to their families, and their families cannot say goodbye to them. The conventional design and layout of hospitals do not allow for visitation without risk of infection. In order to protect the global community, many people are having to sacrifice the moments that are the most important to them at the time that is the most imperative to have those moments. People are lying in hospital beds all around the country, surrounded by white walls and fluorescent lights. This is a design flaw. This is a structural failure of the built environment. While the pandemic exposes these issues, most conventional hospitals have been failing to operate as healthy spaces for a long time. It is commonplace that the first and last things a person sees in life are the insides of a hospital: 4 white walls and long fluorescent lights, maybe a window if the patient is lucky, or in certain cases, rich. This scene is easy to forget when it is the backdrop behind human faces. The visitor in the hospital rooms of those leaving or entering the world are likely the most important faces in the patient's life. However, in the current state of the world, hospital walls are not the background of a patient's experience. They are the foreground. Without the recognizable structure of human faces, even nurses and doctors have full face coverings, there is nothing subconsciously recognizable for the human brain. Biophilia is the study of how humans recognize and subconsciously seek out interactions with places and things that our brains recognize innately as natural. Faces, landscapes, vegetation, and natural materials are some of the things immediately recognized by our brains. 2 hypotheses dominate the reasons behind biophilia, while it is likely a mix of both. The first is the idea that as humans evolved in the African savannas, spaces that reflect the complex patterns of life in the savanna bring the human brain's subconscious relief as it recognizes these views as home. The second is the idea that as a component of the intricate systems that make up the environment, the human brain innately recognizes other parts of the system through similar complexity and structure, such as fractals. When the human brain recognizes something as natural, it can become relaxed and allow for healing processes to occur. Our brains are hardwired to recognize and respond positively to familiar scenes. This is how we survived. We built patterns based on what is known to be safe and what is known to be unsafe. When humans are removed from spaces that they innately recognize, the brain subconsciously enters a space of stress and releases stress hormones. In conventional hospitals, the spaces, while recognizable to the conscious, are unrecognizable to the subconscious. This prohibits the ability of a brain to relax. Stress hormones are produced, and the body is in fight or flight mode, working on adrenaline and not entering a place of rest and healing. Emotions are heightened and creativity is suppressed. These patterns are negative both for patients and healthcare workers who work in these environments. Hospitals have become machines. With simple materials, blank pallets, white everything, plastic, metal, and polyester, conventional hospitals are built with a singular purpose: input and output with safety. While this is extremely important, by concentrating on the absolute refinement of the environment and treating any ornament or complexity as extra and a liability, the physical design of our healthcare systems did not take into account our humanity. Hospitals without the presence of biophilic design do not function as efficiently. Humans can learn to live and thrive in new environments, but human brains are hardwired for the nature they evolved in. If we think of the spaces that make us feel calm, stress-free, relaxed, and healed, we do not envision hospitals. Since the introduction of modern architecture, ornation and aesthetics have been considered unimportant. While blank walls, pure white paint, plain surfaces, clean lines, and harsh corners are the palette for our most important healing spaces, they are also visuals that do not exist in nature. In a hospital room, filled with sounds, sight, textures, and feelings that are completely foreign to our subconscious, we create stress inside our brains. Our bodies cannot fully relax because we are continuing to produce stress hormones, whether or not we realize that we don't feel comfortable. Removing our loved ones from that situation, we remove the last recognizable forms. Simply put, the spaces we have made to heal us are unhealthy. Healthcare professionals are working against hospitals. Our physical spaces should promote healing and growth, or, at the very least, they should not inhibit healing and growth. For this project, 3 countries are currently being considered: Jamaica, Costa Rica, and California. Jamaica is a low-income country with substantially lower health spending, while Costa Rica is a middle-income country, and California is a high-income state and a high-income country. These differences provide different lenses for understanding healthcare. While the US spends over $3 trillion on healthcare each year, and it is estimated that $9 billion is spent on healthcare infrastructure, California alone spends nearly $170 million on healthcare infrastructure every year. Meanwhile, Jamaica is struggling to pay 401 million Jamaican dollars on healthcare infrastructure a year. That's only 2.8 million US dollars for the entire country. Legal building supplies in Jamaica are roughly the same price as in the US, or oftentimes more expensive because of transportation costs to the island. And that 2.8 million US dollars has to spread between 18 hospitals and 300 health clinics. Most, if not all, are in desperate need of infrastructural upgrades to stay or become safe. The picture of this Jamaican hospital is titled, "Public Hospitals in Jamaica Have Become Like Death Traps." These three countries each pose different risks, needs, and most of all, financial ability. Because this project is more guideline than site-specific, it is important to set forth guidelines that are applicable across a wide range of socioeconomic groups. The purpose of my senior project is to approach hospital design from the lens of biophilia. Hospitals should be places of healing, and in order to heal, humans need to feel safe and comfortable. At the ends of our lives, the beginnings of our lives, and the most stressful times in between, we need hospitals that are structurally designed to connect us with the humans and the environment around us. I will redesign the conventional hospital structure using the patterns of biophilic design and concentrating on health, human connection, and the prevention of infectious diseases. In the wake of COVID-19, how can biophilic design respond to unhealthy, conventional processes of healthcare design and create research-backed methodology that promotes the well-being and efficiency of healthcare workers and patients alike and reframe what it means to be a hospital?